Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today on this very snowy Wednesday. I hope everyone's staying warm. We're going to go ahead and get started with the webinar now. Before we kick it off, I just wanted to go over some housekeeping items. First off, you should be automatically muted once you join the webinar, so please keep your audio muted during the duration of the webinar. If you have any questions or run into any technical difficulties, please you can go ahead and enter your question into the chat box and we can address it that way. Questions will be reserved for the end of the webinar, but anytime you have a question, please type it into the chat box and the presenter will answer it at the end of the webinar. I know that we received some questions from when you signed up as well, so we'll make sure we cover those. If you have any issues with your audio component or if you're experiencing any technical difficulties, please switch from the audio to the phone call in the control panel, and you'll be given a phone number and an access code to dial in that way. So today's webinar is going to be about understanding your 1095A form. I know a lot of you work with folks out in the community. They should be starting to get their 1095 forms if they haven't already. So Deb Eastman, who's our broker support manager here at Access Health, is going to go through and talk about the form, what it means, and answer a lot of the questions that you might have. So Deb, I'm going to kick it off to you. Oh, Deb, are you there? Sorry, everyone, give us 1 second here. Sorry, everyone. Thanks for your patience. We're just trying to work out some technical difficulties on our end.
Hello.
Hey, we can hear you, Deb. Can you hear us? Can you?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Sorry. Okay, great. Kick it off. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Debbie Eastman, manager of the 1095 team. I've been managing this 1095 team for going on 4 years. So we're going to start with a little introduction, and then I'm going to go through all the different segments of 1095, and then I believe, Quinn, I think we do the questions as they pop up, right? We'll answer them as you see them come up, or do we wait till the end? I'm not sure how that's going to work.
We can wait till the end.
Okay. All right. So any primary tax filer who enrolls themselves or person they claimed on their taxes, and I'm just going to, excuse me one second, I'm just going to move this down a little bit, for a bronze, silver, gold, or platinum level health insurance plan through Access Health for at least 1 month in 2017, they should expect to get a IRS 1095A form. We've mailed them all out. They went out on the 26th, 27th, and 28th. They also were uploaded if the clients had an account. They were uploaded to their account. If they didn't, then they did get them in the mail, and obviously sometimes we have some issues with addresses and things, but the protocol is they call the call center. If they can reprint, they do. If it's something further than that, some kind of financial concern or question, then it would come down to my team of 14. So the 1095A details your 2017 coverage, including who is covered. It talks about information that's needed to help you validate your APTCs that you may have received or you may not have received, but might be eligible to receive a lump sum premium tax credit when you file your income tax. The 4 essential pieces, there's column A, B, and C. It's column A would be your premium. And you're going to hear me talk about this throughout the whole presentation. It's your premium is indicated in column A. However, it is only your premium for essential benefits. So any non-essential benefits that are in any given plan that the client had, it's going to be less that amount. And there's a lot of confusion with that because people don't understand. They just assume that their column A is going to match up with their carrier's invoice. And the government deems certain benefits in their plan non-essential. Therefore, they can't go against the tax credit in column C. And you'll hear me talk about it a lot because there's lots of questions that community comes out with, as well as the clients call and ask all kinds of questions about it. So column B would be the second lowest silver plan, and that is again based on the second lowest cost silver plan, but it's also what drives the tax credits in column C. The APTCs are what was paid out to help that individual or the family pay their premium on a monthly basis, and that's advanced. So it's given prior to the month where the premium is paid, and that's exactly what it says, it's advanced. So it's given usually before the 15th of the following month. What months are those who enrolled are covered? If you change your plan during the year, you're going to get more than one 1095. Some individuals will get 2, 3, 4, depending on what kind of situation. If they had some kind of a life event change, they would have a new policy. If they got disenrolled for a VCL error, chances are they may also have a different policy number. Therefore, they will get more than one 1095A. Okay, we'll go to the next one. What is reconciliation? It's the validation of your premium tax credit, your PTC eligibility, and a confirmation that you have received the correct APTC. So again, this is all part of the form, but it's also throughout the year whether you qualify or not for tax credits for the subsequent year. Based on your tax credits, if you receive too much in APTCs, you may have to pay back some or all of the APTCs, depending on your household MAGI income relative to your federal poverty level. And I can't stress enough with my enrollment folks as well as customer service that, and also the call center, when they're enrolling individuals, they just have to make sure that the client understands that what they attest to is how their tax credits are going to be based on pretty much. So if they have questions about their income, they may make more or may make less, they will need to call in and change that, but they also might want to reconsider how much they all are part of the tax credits, just in case if they make too much, then they may owe back the government some of those tax credits that were paid in advance for their premium. Okay, few or no APTCs. If you're eligible for APTCs based on the information in the IRS form 8962, you may be eligible to receive a tax refund for all or some of the amount of premium tax credits you receive. So the 1095A is more of an informative form. The information actually has to be placed on the IRS 8962 form. The 1095 reconciliation process. So for 1095A, the exchange coverage, we started in 2014 issuing the 1095A forms. They were issued by Access House, and it's for anyone that had a qualified health plan for at least 1 month out of a given year. The 1095B is for non-exchange individual coverages. That started in 2015, and those are issued by the Department of Social Services. Individuals enrolled in Husky Health Medicaid will receive a 1095B form. What happens with Access Health is we encounter a lot of folks who had some overlap. So they may have gotten an A, they may have gotten a B, and some of those months may overlap. So our responsibility in my department is to make sure that we go back to the Department of Social Services and check with them and confirm, did they have coverage? And then we have to make a decision on where the coverage lies. Tax credits, a lot of times it has to stay with the Access Health with the tax credits because they were given in advance. And each situation is unique, so we have to look at each situation and see, did they call in? Was there?
Kathy said, "You're so mean to your mother." Actually, she's laughing her damn ass.
So that's a decision. A lot of times we get the calls in, and then we have to figure out financially how to go about that with the Department of Social Services. So it's a coordination or partnership with them to decide how those forms, the QHP form, but then also trying to work with them to coordinate to make sure their form reflects the correct months of eligibility. Lastly is the 1095C, that's the employer-sponsored coverage. That started in 2015, and that's issued by your employer. For any additional information, advise your consumer to reach out to their employer directly. Okay, move on to the next one. So failure to reconcile. By law, customers who receive APTCs are required to reconcile their advanced tax payments. Any individual detail section of the application, the client confirms to have reconciled their APTCs for the past year. What I can tell you is I've been doing it for a while, and a lot of times people have extensions, they don't file their taxes right away, so they'll call for previous years. And when they go to do their enrollment for 2018, there's a question on the application that asks if they've reconciled. And if they haven't, chances are they're going to lose the APTCs, and they may even also lose coverage at some point if they don't reconcile. And that's pretty much what this slide speaks to. Receive payment of APTCs during the coverage year. They receive the 1095A, which shows all premiums, paid tax credits received. The 1095 is issued to complete the Form 8962. So what happens is a lot of times consumers felt that they didn't have coverage, or perhaps they didn't have coverage, and somehow some information from the house went to the IRS saying they might have had coverage for a month or 2 months. So what happens is there's a discrepancy now between the files that we sent to the IRS and what the consumer sent or didn't send on their 8962. And what happens is if there is a discrepancy, the consumer will get a letter from the IRS telling them they're not going to get their return, or they're going to hold money that they have until it gets figured out. So a lot of times we get some very angry callers because they're waiting on their money, but now they've gone in and perhaps just filed their taxes without any information on the 8962, and we reported that they did have coverage. So that holds up things. So I always tell consumers that if you've been in our system for over a month, you want to make sure that you get a form or you call in and figure out, did you have coverage or didn't you, if there's any question about it. So the biggest challenge for the consumer is sending the right documents for the proof of filing. Access Health will accept a tax return transcript to satisfy all three requirements: the 1040, the 8962, and proof of filing. Access Health partners, brokers, and certified application counselors are asked to help individuals request a transcript, but should not perform this action on behalf of the consumer if the consumer, I'm sorry, let me just flip down, if the consumer is not present. There's a website down below that we advise you to direct them to, and they can get that transcript. And I have heard that there's been a little difficulty trying to get that and get the information back, but pretty much, I think a couple tries through, they get that information and they have to forward it to us so that they can prove that they reconcile their taxes. Okay. Here's our colorful 1095A form. Up in the top right corner is the form status, and you'll see there's two little, you can hardly see them, but they're two little yellow boxes. It says void and corrected. So pretty much all the forms that went out, the initial forms that went out have those dates that I mentioned earlier. They're 126, 127, 128, 29. Those would be the first batch that went out. And then if there's any corrections or voids that have to be done, then that would be the second version of that file, and you would see one of those boxes checked off. So if they called and said, you know, I need my form voided, and we would do some checking with the carrier to find out the validation, did they really not have any coverage? Second version of that would be now voided, and then that would be corrected, sent back to the IRS with a void. Same thing with the correction. Those two boxes would be filled out if there's either a void or correction that needs to be done to the form. The primary tax filer over to the far left in the yellow, that would be not the primary applicant, but the primary tax filer would be indicated there. Any individual, it's hard to see again, underneath that yellow box would be indicated there. The spouse, there is one, would be under the yellow box. The latest mailing address is on those purple boxes, so that would be the address, city, state, and county. And then we go to section 2, which is the covered individuals. So those are all the family members that would have been covered. It's actually in the second, kind of hard to see here, but in the second column over after their name would be their social. It's the last four, it's not their full social. And then it would just be the start and end date of when they were covered. And you'll see in that column sometimes there's different effective dates because members either came on or were taken off. Going down, okay, yeah, covered, sorry, so in the red. Then we see going down to part 3. Now that's the financial piece. So that is where any kind of question the consumer calls in and has any kind of financial disagreement, discrepancy question, that would be my 14 on my team. Take a look at that. We look at all the information, the data that we got from the carriers. We look at the applications. We look at all the CRM, our call center notes, and try to figure out what happened and then understand whether this form needs to be corrected or not. So again, column A is the essential health benefits only are reflected in there. So again, it's not the total premium, it's only the benefits that are essential that are indicated there. Second column would be the second lowest cost silver for how many folks are actually in a QHP. And I'll explain a little more about column B. So some folks have what we call a household, which you guys probably are aware of. And some of the members may be in a Husky, let's say 2 of the children maybe, and 2 of the adults are in a QHP. The only ones that are reflected on that column would be the QHP folks. It's the 2 parents, if that's the way the household is split up. What happens is if a household decides that they were eligible for Husky but chose not to take the Husky, they want the whole family on a QHP, the only individuals that would show with a second lowest silver would be the 2 that were only eligible for the QHP. You can't be eligible for Husky and also a QHP. So anybody that's eligible for Husky would not be reflected in column D. And then C would be the advanced tax credit. So that's what's granted from based on their attested MAGI. And that can change if they change their income or there was some kind of life event change. If they change their county, lots of different things can change that. So sometimes the form will have one APTC and then you'll see somewhere down the line it changed. Okay, on to the next one. So here's the form 8962. This is an IRS form that basically you can see in that little yellow box to the left there, how much are you required to pay based on your your percentage of your federal poverty level. So again, that information's coming off their 1095. We don't advise them what to put in there. We don't advise them how much to put in there. That's either they can do that, their tax accountant or their tax preparer needs to fill that information out. Used to reconcile their APTCs. Those are those boxes that I have also underlined in the red and the yellow. Again, we are not to advise them. They can look at the form and talk to their tax preparer, but you know, we can indicate what numbers they have to go in, but we don't tell them how much or where to put it. If you got too little or just enough APTCs, then it would be down, and I believe it's box 26, and 28 is if you got too much APTCs. So again, that goes off to the IRS with their tax return, and that should be either prepared by the individual or whoever's doing their taxes. Okay, on to the next one. So Form 8965. So this is a form where again, this is an IRS form. But this is a form for individuals that have an exemption. So it could be lots of different reasons. One could be they have a hardship, and the information they sent in some kind of document, and there's all different kinds of pieces that they need to prove that there is a hardship. Our legal department goes through that information, and then they grant them a number, and that number is indicated in the first section of the 8965. What also happens is if there's some kind of let's say a discrepancy with us, or there was a mistake made with a broker, or a mistake made with someone in customer service, or something fell amiss from our end, and the individual didn't have coverage, and they're looking so they don't get fined, that all has to be, again, reviewed. It has to go into an appeal sheet, then it has to be reviewed by our legal department, and a number is granted. And that number would be indicated on this 8965 form. Again, and there's some more information back on that, but we don't advise them what to put in there. It's just that's pieces of information that they would, again, talk to their tax preparer. Okay, we're on to the next slide, the cost center tier 1. So this is our call center that actually supports us. I have a small team of 14. We have lots of calls at the first couple of months. So we've trained the call center to answer the phone calls, the first line of calls. What they can do is they can reprint the forms, they can make demographic changes, address changes, that type of thing. Financial client questions, if it's not in depth, they can answer that, and they can create the contact information in CRM and reset passwords. If it's anything further than that, then it gets put to my team. It's not always a warm transfer as far as bringing it over, because a lot of times my the 14 folks are on the phone, especially when the volume's high for the next couple of months. So it would be a CRM. They document in there the notes, what went on, and then it gets, my folks are pulling from the inbox all day long. So that would come down to a call center log process. Again, warm transfer, Department of Social Services for a Husky D, A, and B, the 1095B Medicaid form. There's a number. A lot of times they're backed up to at this time of year because of their B forms. So what happens is we just suggest that the consumer calls that number and tries to square away what they're looking for, or if they're didn't get a form, that type of thing. The 1095A, I have 2 lines. You have the Spanish and have the English line, and primarily they do come to it as a CRM to the call center log, but there are ones that get escalated over that need immediate help, and that would be a warm transfer to those 2 numbers at 6800 and 6803. Okay. So this is my team, the Operations 1095A team. There's 14 of us. They research for 14, 15, 2016, and 17. They make financial corrections. They audit the 1095A forms, and they void the 1095A forms. So what happens is a caller calls in and they have a problem. So we would look at the problem. It's a whole process. We have to look at certain files that we have with the carriers, Anthem and Connecticut, and then we validate the information. It needs to get corrected. Then everything that gets corrected has to be audited. Then it has to be printed, which we have a local company that prints it, and then it usually goes out within 24 hours. And again, after the 24 hours, it gets uploaded to their account if they have one. So CRM, this is kind of just informative, and we can probably go this pretty quick. This is the call center. I had different audiences with these different presentations, so we'll flip through that. But what it is the call center has to document every call that comes in, whether it's for applications, for special enrollment, or for 1095. So this was just some directives to them when they're logging in our information. So we can go ahead and go forward on this one as well. And the 1095A portal. So this is a system that we have. It runs off of the HIC system, our worker portal, but it's a separate portal that was built last year. And myself and some of our consultants built this system. I had worked on like 3 years of 1095s, and I was thinking of how we could better do better process, and then also quicker and more user friendly. So this is what came out of all of it, and it pretty much looks just like your 1095. It looks just like your worker portal when you're going into the 1095 portal. It's just a different URL. They go in, you put your same worker portal user ID, you put your password in, and it logs you in. Go to the next one. And it looks like this when you log in. So pretty much it's 1095 information and forms. There's like 3 drop downs, 3 of them. The first one is primarily the one the users use, the reps use. It's just telling you the information, what's out there, what forms, what year the forms, by policyholder number, by social, by name. Okay. This is what it looks like when you go in, when you're searching. The tax year would be 2017, will default to the top, whatever the policyholder number is. And a lot of users don't have that. We have that information on the 834, or we know from the carrier information what the policyholder number is. The social, which again would be the primary tax social, and then also the full name, and we have the date of birth. So there's all different search engines we can use to take a look at these individuals to see if they produced a 1095. And if there's more than one 1095, as you can see in this example, you would see 2017 and all of the different policyholders numbers listed below. Okay. So this is what the form looks like when it goes out. It's got a couple different things going on. In the left-hand corner, it's our PO box. And then over in the right is our call center number. So it's directing them if they have any questions or concerns about their form to call the call center. And then the actual primary tax filer's name and address, city and state, and the zip code is indicated on the left. Okay. 1095A consumer, yeah, you can keep going. Okay, so this is the consumer portal. And we do a lot of checking in here because this is where the form gets, if they do have an account, this is where it would be uploaded to. So you would go in, and it's actually, you go into the user in the worker portal, and you would put in their information, whether you know their app number, whether you know their name, whatever information. You can scan on a couple, I believe it's, I'm not sure if it's social or not, but there's several different search engines that you could look to get into their inbox. You will see the consumer's name. You just want to make sure you're in the right consumer's inbox, and then you would hit my inbox, and it'll bring you to this screen. So it's pretty much showing you some of their information, as you can see on the bottom half there. And then what you do is you click on the inbox, and it's going to bring you into that consumer's box to let you see what's inside there. So, and then it says View More. There's a little drop-down box on the left-hand side. You would hit the View More. You can proceed. Yeah. And then, as you can see, there's a 1095 IRS form. So, in the search engine, one message name, you can put 1095, you can put IRS, any of that information, because it doesn't always come to the top of the documents, unfortunately. But if you scan it, you'll see it, and that way you'll see it in, and it's primarily in English. I do not believe we have it in Spanish yet. That's to come. But it would, you click on it, and then you would see the PDF form of their information, and that would be the ones that went out in the batch. If it's not there, then we could have some concerns. It could be one that it didn't get created, or that there was a problem with amount of documents in the inbox. So there's a couple different things or reasons why. Again, that would be a call to call center documented to my team, and we would try to figure out why they didn't get a form. Every consumer that was on our system that did get a 1095 was mailed one as well. Okay. So there again is we've got the primary in the yellow box, their address, where it goes, name, tax filer's name. And again, if you look in the top right corner, that version, that would be the date that it was printed. So that's the first version, which would generally be the last couple days of the month of January that they went out. If there's any corrections, you would see the new date, and you would see version 2 or version 3 up in that right-hand corner. Also not indicated on this slide, but there is next to that, there's also information of when the IRS. There'll be a date, and it will say file date, and that's when the file went to the IRS. And a lot of consumers call me. We got a couple just like the last couple of days that they are looking for, well, I need to know if the IRS got my form, or, you know, when does it go, and how can I guarantee they got it? And all I can confirm is that the file left Access Health, it got filed to the IRS, and how they upload it, I don't know if they do it nightly, daily. I cannot speak to that, so I try to explain to them. The best I can do is tell you that we made the correction, the file went over, and that, you know, to that degree, I can't tell you when the IRS is going to pick that up and use it as to go against your return. But okay, we could go to the next one. Catastrophic plan, and that's another big question that a lot of folks get. We get them quite a few at the very beginning, and we've been over and over a couple of years now, and I thought people understood, but people are still looking for it. So if you're in a catastrophic plan, which generally you're 30 years and younger, or you can also have a hardship and be qualified to get a catastrophic. We do not have forms, 1095 forms do not get released for catastrophic plans. They are considered healthcare, they are looked at, they don't get fined if they had a catastrophic. It does go through we do produce them. However, the information from our carrier goes over that this individual had catastrophic, and it also goes from our files to the IRS, telling them that this individual, so they're not looking for any information on the 8962. So it's understood that they do have a plan and they won't get fined for not having insurance. And again, catastrophic plans are available 30 years and younger. 30 years and older, they could have a hardship or affordability exemption from Access Health. They do not cover any benefits other than 3 primary care visits per year before the plan's deductible is met. Generally offer lower monthly premiums compared to other full cost plans. Their premium is generally very low, and then their deductible is also very high. Typically, they have higher out-of-pocket costs. You cannot use an advanced premium tax credit to help pay your monthly bill for these plans. Okay. So now let's check. This is going to be an interesting one because generally I'm in front of an audience and we're doing it. So I'm gonna just see how this works out. I think how they're gonna send back the response, and we'll get the general response of what they think the answer is. Is that how it's gonna work?
Yeah, I would say if you want to read off the questions, Deb, and the answer choices, folks can type it into the chat box, and we'll just click on the answer based on what we see in the chat box.
Okay.
Great.
So when should I receive my IRS Form 1095-A? All 1095-A forms for 2017 coverage will be mailed by A, January 31st, 2018, B, January 30th, 2018, February 1st, 2018, or February 2nd, 2018.
So if you want to type in your answers into the chat box, we'll just click on the one that gets the most answers. Okay, so Tara says A. Any other takers? See that Flora says A as well. Should we go ahead and click on A?
Yep. Yay. Yep. It's by the 31st, we're required to get all the forms out.
Great. Oops, sorry about that. Next question. Okay,
question 2. Any who enrolled themselves or a person that claims on their taxes in a bronze, silver, or gold to Access Health for at least 1 month in 2017 will receive an IRS Form 1095-A from Access Health CT. The primary applicant, A, B, the authorized representative, C, the spouse, or D, the primary tax filer.
We have one person saying primary tax filer, one person saying primary applicant. Is there a tiebreaker out there or another answer?
Yeah, anybody else?
Oh, a lot of, oh, so it looks like there's a pretty even split between A and D. I think more so D.
It's definitely primary, right, it's definitely the primary tax. The application drives the primary applicant, but it's a little different story with the tax forms. It is the tax primary that drives everything on our forms. Got it right? Okay. Question 3. If the consumer has a policy change during the year, they receive one 1095-A for each different policy they enrolled for at least 1 month. Is that A, true, or B, false?
Looks like there was one saying A, true, Deb.
Yes, it is true. Yep. Every time you have a policy, if any kind of policy change, you'll get another form. If you had a change in premium, you would get another form as well. Okay, question number 4. If you received an APTC in 2017 but did not file your IRS Form 8962 with your taxes, the IRS will consider your tax return to be incomplete, will not process your return, or any refund that you may be entitled to until the form is completed and filed. You may also not be eligible to receive tax credits when you apply for your coverage in the following years if you don't meet the filing requirement. A, true, B, false.
We have 3 people saying A. Oh. We have 1 person saying A plus. All right, let's see.
We got B. Yeah. A. Yeah. Okay, let's go to number 5. Will I receive an IRS Form 1095A if I didn't request a subsidy? A, no, if it's not necessary since you did not request any tax credits in your application. B, yes, every taxpayer who obtained health insurance for themselves and their tax dependents to AHCT and purchased a bronze, silver, or gold will receive a 1095A form. So A, no, B, yes. Will I receive an IRS Form 1095 if I didn't request subsidy? What do we got?
I think we have mostly B's.
B, right. So you definitely, even if you didn't get subsidies, you still have to file that information on 8962, and then you possibly could be eligible to get some tax credits back. So that's why it's important that you make sure you file that. Not only that, but we also at Access Health have filed information that you came to and had coverage for at least 1 month in a given year. And so if you don't, then obviously there's a discrepancy. Okay, question number 6. Where should I go for my information about tax filing and the necessary forms? A, IRS website. B, Access Health website. C, Department of Social Services. D, A and B. Yeah, it looks like you guys, it is D. It's A and B. So the IRS website has all the forms and it'll give you instructions, but we also have a lot out in our website, Learn More, all about the 8962 form, the 1095A form, and then also the 8965. So there's lots of information you got at either spot. Okay, question number 7. Why is the second lowest cost silver plan, the SLCSP, premium displayed on my form? A, the second lowest cost silver plan is the premium amount paid for your coverage when browsing for a plan on the exchange. B, the second lowest cost silver plan refers to the second cheapest silver plan available to you or your household. The price of this plan is used to calculate your eligibility for premium tax credit. So it's A or B.
I think we have a few folks saying B here.
Yeah, it is B. Yeah. So the second lowest silver is what drives your APTC for how many folks are in the household. Question number 8. Why does my monthly payment premium amount on my 1095A form not match the premium amount on the bill I receive from my insurance company every month? A, your plan included benefits in addition to the essential health benefits required by the healthcare law, like adult dental or vision benefits. In this case, the monthly enrollment premium on your Form 1095A may show only the amount of your premium that applied to the essential health benefits. Is it A, true, or B, false? Why does my monthly premium amount, my 1095, not match the premium amount on the bill? It's due to essential health benefits not being included. So A, is that true, or B, false?
Looks like we have several folks saying A, true.
Yes. Question number 9. What if my Form 1095A is incorrect or missing information? You can access Health, you can contact Access Health, and that's our call center number. You can contact the Department of Social Services and their number. You can contact the IRS or all of the above.
think we have a couple, mostly
Yes.
Ds. One.
It looks like a mix. So really, if your 1095A form is wrong, you need to call us, Access Health. The Department of IRS, they're only going to get the information of what you send them and what we've sent them through the year. So it's a good place to start with us. And then if there's corrections that need to be made, we have to make it. And then we file it with the IRS and just reconcile with the carriers and the client to make sure everything gets corrected. Question 10, what if there is a discrepancy in my 1095A form? My tax consultant H&R Block said you have the wrong information on this 1095A and to contact Access Health Connecticut and our number to fix it because it will cost me money. What do I do? A, you will have to wait until next open enrollment to make changes. B, let's review where you believe a discrepancy exists. If the premium tax credit information on your application does not match the information on your 1095A form, we can request further research with the carriers. C would be, you will have to pay a penalty to the Internal Revenue Services, and D, none of the above.
I think we have mostly Bs on this one.
Discrepancy, what's the best route? It's a little tricky, I think, the way it's at.
So I think we have 4 or 5 people saying B.
B, yeah, it's B. So you would need to call the call center, and then we would need to, you'd be talking to my team, the 14 that are on, and we would try to figure out where this discrepancy and then rectify with the carrier.
Deb, we got a question, and since it's relevant to the question that you just posed, what should people have with them when they call?
I'm sorry, say that question again. I didn't hear the end of it.
Yeah, what should people have with them when they call Access Health?
So when they call, they should have the form. The important thing is the call center, and this kind of goes back and forth, but the call center, they verify from the primary applicant that's on that application, but they really, who needs to be present if they start speaking about the financial piece, because it is privacy information on the IRS financial stuff. So they need to also have present the tax primary that's on that application as well. And it gets kind of tricky with that because some folks will say, well, you know, I'm the primary on the applicant, the wife, but the husband's the primary tax person. We really should have both present when we're speaking about this. Again, because there could be, the couple could be split up, there could be, there's lots of different reasons. And so it's best that we have both of the individuals on the phone. And if it's not the case, then generally speaking, the call center would send that down to my folks, and our team would call back and try to get both the primary applicant and the primary tax person on the phone so we can make sure that we understand where the discrepancies are and what we need to do to fix it. Does that answer your question?
I think so. We can clarify that if
It's best to have the form in front of you.
Great.
Okay, question number 11. How can I obtain a copy of my 1095A form? A, by email or fax. B, through an active Access Health online account or by mail, latest mailing address. C, in person, or D, all of the above.
You have a mix of Bs and Ds so far.
C. Okay, so in years gone by, and in A, we did the first year email and fax, and I believe we might have done part in the second year. We stopped doing that because there was too much risk of other people getting emails and faxing it to all different locations, and people were seeing private tax information from other individuals that they shouldn't be seeing. So we don't allow, the company policy is there's no email and there's no faxing the forms. You can't come in person. We've had people come in person looking for their forms. They've gone to our call center. They've come to Hartford. We don't allow it. It's too risky because sometimes people are very upset about their forms and that kind of stuff. So generally, we try not to advise that. The best way is to look online for your account or get it by mail. Question number 12. What do I do if an hold on there. I just messed out of that. What do I do if an exemption in 2017? Do I need to file anything with the IRS? A, yes, you'll need to complete an IRS form 8965. B, yes, you'll need to complete an IRS form 8962. C, no further action is required. And D, yes, you'll need to complete an IRS form 1040. So that's if you had a hardship or if you had some missing months and you didn't want to get fined and you had sent in an appeal and an exemption was granted. What form would you be using?
So we have one person saying A and one person saying D here.
Okay, it's the 8965. So it's that the 8962 is the 1095 information goes over, and then that 8965 you actually fill in the exemption number that was granted to you by our legal department. Okay, good. We're on to question number 13. If I was eligible for tax credits and chose not to take them in advance, do I need to reconcile? No, you shouldn't have taken those tax credits in advance. B, yes, you still receive a 1095A and you will still need to file a Form 8962 in order to receive a refund of the premium tax credits you may be entitled to. I see B coming. Yeah. So it's definitely B. Like I mentioned, you definitely want to, even if you didn't get tax credits, you chose not to take them, you still need to file that and you may be eligible to get a return. Not a return, I should say. He should be eligible to get, he might be eligible to get tax refund on the advanced tax credits. Okay, question number 14. What do I do with the 1095A form if the recipient passed away during the current tax year? Taxes will still need to be filed and the form will need it needed for the final tax return. Please notify Access Health Contact Center about the death. Please also provide 1095A form to the estate attorney of the recipient for tax filing purposes. That A is true and B is false. What do I do if they passed away during the current tax year? I see an A, true. It is true. Yeah. So you want to make sure that if that person passed in that year that you're filing the taxes, that you still get the 1095 information, and then it's whether who's ever in charge of that individual that passed away should be making sure that that form gets filed with the tax returns that they needed to do for that prior year. That's correct. Question number 15. Households with a QHP eligible members and Medicaid eligible members, split household, what can I expect in my 1095A form? All QHP members in the household that the primary tax filer claims on their taxes would be included in the monthly premium, column A, and the second lowest cost silver plan, column B, and the monthly advance payment of premium tax credits, column C. Those are all the QHP members. So the second part of that is Medicaid eligible household members in the split household will receive a 1095B form reflecting the months they had Medicaid coverage and would not be included in the calculations for the premium second lowest silver and the APT fees. Is that A, true, or B, false?
So it seems like most folks, or I think everyone went for A here.
I think it's A. Yep. Yep. I thought it was A.
Oh.
Ah, wait a minute.
Go back.
Household with eligible split house, how can I expect my 1095A? All QHs in the household, the primary tax payment of their taxes. I think they messed that up. It's definitely for you would not eligible household members of split household will receive a 1095B reflecting the months they had Medicaid coverage. It would not, and they would not be included in the premium. So unfortunately, I don't know what happened with that one, but it would be and I think I mentioned this several times already when we started the presentation that if they're eligible for Medicaid, they would not be indicated on column B, nor would they be in C. Even if they decided that they were eligible and chose not to take it, they still are not reflected in column B or column C. So that really is, that's A. I don't know what happened with that one. I don't know if somehow it got messed up, but what can I expect?
Okay. I think, were those all the questions that you had for now, Deb?
That's it. That was it for me. Unless anybody has questions for me.
Yeah, if you have questions for Deb, please go ahead and type them into the chat box now. I'm going to just take a couple minutes to go over some other slides, and then we'll get right back to the Q&A. So what I wanted to talk about was opportunities to partner with Access Health Connecticut if you are not already a partner. I see some very familiar names here, so I know that we talk with a lot of you on a regular basis, but if you want to learn more about how to work with us, I wanted to talk about the resources that we have available to you. So we have a lot of different community partners out there. We work with community health centers, various community organizations, educational institutions, elected officials, health departments, libraries, faith organizations. And so if you want to be added to our list, this is just a map of where our partners are. But we are looking for folks, or we're looking to, speak at your events, whether you want to do an informational session for the people that you work with out in the community, or if you have staff who want to know more about Access Health so they can talk to people in the community more about it, we're happy to come by and do a training session. We're happy to table at any events you might have in the community. We do a lot of webinars, so thank you so much for joining this one. We have more to come, so if you're on our email list, you'll get the invitation for a couple of other ones we have planned in the next few weeks or so. And the place that you can go to learn about all these opportunities that I'm mentioning is our community partners page, which is learn.accesshealthct.com/community. There you'll find copies of our old newsletter, how to sign up to receive future emails, printable resources, and contact information for various Access Health departments. And if you need materials to distribute to your community, we're happy to provide that as well. So we're looking for partners to, like I said, distribute materials to the community. And I should have updated this slide here since we're not no longer in open enrollment. We do have some special enrollment brochures. So if you want that to display at your office for community members to take, we're happy to provide those. If there are opportunities to list Access Health on your website, or mention us in your social media post, or send an email in your regular newsletter to your membership, we'd be happy to provide the content for that as well. So I mentioned these opportunities already. If you have any events that you want us to be at, or if you have a speaking request, please shoot us an email. Our email is outreach@accesshealthct.com. Or there's also a form on our community partners site that I mentioned before that you can also fill out. And this webinar is being recorded right now, and we'll send it out following this webinar. So if you didn't get a chance to write down the email or the link, we'll have that for you at a later date. These are some of the resources that I talked about. There's the community page link again. If you have constituents who are looking for in-person help, they can go to support.accesshealthct.com. Like I said, please sign up for a monthly newsletter on our community page if you haven't done so already. And I also mentioned this, but if there are, depending on what questions you or maybe your constituents have, we'll probably direct you to a different source. So if it's outreach related, please shoot us an email at outreach@accesshealthct.com, or give our community affairs outreach manager, Kelly, a call at that number that's listed there. If it's, if a question related to someone's application, or if it's something that a carrier can answer, we have that contact information listed on this page as well. So here's the contact information again. Again, if you have any questions for Deb, please type it into the chat box right now. I'm gonna kick it off with some questions that we got when people signed up. The other thing that I'm gonna ask you to do is my colleague Grace is going to post a link to a survey, and that'll just help us understand, if this survey was helpful to you, what we can do to improve it in the future. So please take a couple seconds to fill that out as well before you go. So, Deb, the first question I have for you is, what happens if the consumer does not receive the 1095-A form but is supposed to get it? And I think you've already covered this sufficiently, but if you can go over it again, that would be really helpful.
Sure. If they're certain that they should have got a form, they should be calling the call center number, and then it will filter down to my team, and we will research why the form didn't get out. Maybe it's the wrong address. Maybe for whatever strange reason it might not have got created, which we can create the form. There's a couple different reasons why, and there may be a discrepancy with the carrier regarding coverage. So it's best just to call the call center right away if you realize you didn't get one and you should have, and then we'll research it and try to resolve it as quick as possible to get it back out so you can file a return.
Great. We have a question in the chat box here. So in other words, the 1095A form covers 2HPs and the 1095B form covers Medicaid. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Great. How do you fill out the 1095A form? That's another question that we got.
How do we fill out the 1095A form, or how
I
does?
think they might have meant how to use the 1095A form to fill out the 8962, perhaps.
Okay.
So maybe there was a confusion
right,
around.
Right. The information there's, and I think I briefly touched on the 8962 form. So there's different numbers there where they ask for the information right off. What did you get? What was your premium? I believe it's what were your tax credits. Again, Access House and any partners with us are not to advise in any line where to fill it out. We're not tax preparers. We're not tax accountants. We shouldn't be advising. Here's the information that's on the 1095A form. You know, where you indicated on your 8962 or 65 form is totally, we have to leave that up to the consumer. We don't want to get involved in that, because if something got miscommunicated and put on the wrong line on the form, it could impact what they get a return or what they have to pay. So we advise that that's not any information we give, just the 1095A form, and here, you know, please put that on your 8962 information.
Great. Any other questions? Please go ahead and type it in the chat box. And I see that Grace has also posted the survey link as well, so please take a second to fill that out. So I'll give folks another minute or so to see if we have any additional questions. Deb, I have another question for you, and this may not be a question for Access Health, but someone was asking if a consumer gives a 1095A form to an accountant but does not get an 8962 back, and then they go back and amend their taxes, can they be granted an extension on the 90 days?
Oh, that again is an IRS question. That's not something I'm not sure how that would be handled. That again would be, so that they went, I'm just trying to understand. So they went to their tax preparer without their 1095A information?
I guess their tax preparer might not have given them an 8962 back. So they were wondering, does that allow them an extension because their tax preparer did not give them an 8962 and file it?
I believe no. So what's going to happen is it's going to be held up. So if they came through and had some kind of coverage through Access House and they didn't put their tax accountant, and they didn't know or didn't put it on the 8962, they just filed their taxes, they're going to get information back from the IRS telling them that they need to, and they'll give them a time frame. And I don't know if, I don't believe it's 90 days, but they're going to ask them to get that information squared away and have that amended so that they meet the same information, so it matches up with what we've reported to them for the months of coverage and number of folks in the household and all the information, the financial information on our form. Whether they can give them an extension, I don't know how that's granted from the IRS perspective, but generally I think they give them a deadline of when they need to get that information back to them.
Okay. We have a question here that says, when there is, on the 1095A form, if there is no amount on column A and column B, but there's an amount on column C, is that an issue?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question. So I'll answer it two different ways. So if you saw, if it was the entire form that had zeros in column A and column B and just something in column C, yes, that seems to be probably some kind of discrepancy. However, if you see if the form had column A for a month, they had something in column B, they had something in column C, then the subsequent month, you see column A 0, column B 0, and you see a tax credit in that last section for the second month. What generally that means is that the consumer was stopped paying. So they stopped paying, and let's use January and February. So let's say they stopped paying January 31st. We're required, the CARES is required to give them a 30-day grace period. So if they didn't call in, again, that tax credit was given in advance, probably before the 15th of February. So that money has gone over to the carrier to pay that premium for February. However, they stopped paying, the consumer stopped paying in January. That form would indicate 0 for premium, 0 for column B, and there would be a tax credit that was advanced given to the carrier for that individual. And they are considered covered for that month with their grace period. And there's a lot of disputes about that. We get hundreds of them every year because consumers didn't call in. They just either dropped for non-payment or they canceled but never notified us. And unfortunately, that tax credit is given in advance. So therefore, they're liable for that given month. If they stopped paying in January and just didn't call in, that tax credit, they're on the hook for that. I think that answers your question.
Great. Do we have any other questions? I'm going to go ahead and post the survey link just one more time. We really appreciate your feedback. And if there are no other questions, we will send out an email shortly to everyone who participated with this presentation so you have it to refer to in the future. Other than that, please stay warm, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you.